Welcome back to another edition of Moving Forth here at PhD&D on YouTube. This is where we try to build a better Dungeons & Dragons 4th edition, so today we're going to cover two topics to hopefully help you do that. Topic number 1 is going to be a mindset change that a lot of people need to have that are playing 4th edition. I'm not trying to convince anyone to play it, but if you're playing it, you may fall into the checks trap, as I call it, where you assume the game, or I guess you visualize the game in terms of checks, in terms of the game mechanics, metagaming, and what have you. Now the problem there, and it's not at fault with the person more often than not, is the actual system itself. The system itself prevents so many rules, so many different checks. It's a very defined system where they've almost covered, more options than a lot of systems have, leaving a little less room for imagination, but I don't think it kills it at all. It should never, you have an unlimited imagination, so take advantage of that. But anyways, they provide so many different things you can start to think in terms of checks, and I've seen it happen with myself and actually with players in games that I run. So, how to fix this, and what I mean by this, let me define that. Thinking in terms of checks is you walk into, your Dungeon Master tells you walk into a room in a dungeon. Let's keep it simple. You walk into a square room with one exit, 2 statues. First thing that a lot of players start to think there is, alright, well, and this is another metagaming issue, but they start to think, well, there's got to be something in here. This room wouldn't be here if there wasn't something. So, and that's fine to think that way, but the check trap is the next thing you fall into here. So you look at your DM and you say, okay, I want to make a perception check. And some people will say it in another way. Maybe they're actually looking for something in particular. One step up from that is, I would like to make a perception check to see if I can find this. Going about it all wrong there. They also might say, well, I'd like to make an arcana check. I want to see if I can sense any magic in the room. Don't fall into that check trap. It's the DM's job, not yours, to determine which game rules apply to the game. That is not your job as a player. You may, have a hard time getting over that and thinking in terms of your character and not in terms of the rules, but let the Dungeon Master choose the rule that applies there, or let the Dungeon Master tell you what check to make. Don't fall into the check trap, and that keeps the game, I guess that keeps you out of immersion quite a bit. I'd like to make a perception check here. I'd like to make a perception check there. Well, your halfling fighter does not walk into a room and say, hey guys, I think I'm going to make a perception check. No, he's going to start examining things. Maybe you walk in and say, alright, my character, well, I'm going to go check the base of that statue over there. I'd like to scope up and down this statue and see if anything seems out of place. It's now the Dungeon Master's turn to issue the check. They are the liaison between you and the rules. In these situations, they're there to tell you, okay, now you're going to make a perception check to see if you find anything. Let them say it, don't say it yourself. That is one way to make 4th edition 10 times better, because it is an easy addition to fall into the checks trap. It's not the only game out there where it's possible to fall into that, but let the Dungeon Master or Game Master tell you what checks to make. Let them decide the rules. You play out your character, tell them exactly what you want to do in detail, and they will determine where you're going to go from there. Now, another thing you want to accept with 4th edition is, and a lot of people are starting to fall into that. Those who play 4th edition are starting to fall out of it. They're starting to go towards D&D Next, which I have no beef with at all. Next is great. I'm actually going to play tonight again on a hangout. But they start to feel like 4th edition is dead or dying. That is not the case. That is not the case at all. And I'm going to put a link in the description below to an article written, a very well-written article by my guest that I had recently, Mike Shea from Sly Flourish. This is an article that was, I believe, published on criticalhits.com, but he talks a little bit about it from another perspective, so I'll put that there for reference. But 4th edition is not dead, and you need to realize that, and it's never going to be dead. That's, once again, in my opinion, that's a horrible way to look at games, or to get so upset about 4th edition coming out like a lot of people did. They got mad about it like something was wrong with it. Well, it's a different game. It is the 4th edition of Dungeons & Dragons. You can still play the old stuff, but companies are not going to constantly keep producing old materials. Now, it's good that they did, and I wish they would, but they're going to move on to other editions. If you don't like one, don't play it. But 4th edition is not going to die. It's never going to go anywhere. The books are still going to be out there, and right now is the best time to take advantage of that. And what I mean there is maybe they're not producing as many published, books in print anymore. But recently I started feeling like, well, there's a lot of other stuff going on now. Maybe we should start to inch away from it. And that's not the case with D&D Insider, which you can purchase a subscription for monthly, yearly, whatever. We use it a lot, so we get the yearly. It's a little better deal. But you can get access to Dungeon Magazine, Dragon Magazine, which are all going to be 4th edition content for adventures, character options, player options there, lore. They had a great article recently on a Tarrasque, which I loved it. It was perfect for 4th edition. They actually remodeled the character, the monster stat block for it, made it a little bit better as they're starting to fix things and notice numbers now. But it's not dead. You can find so many different adventures there. Every single month you can find character options. Like I said, the lore is my favorite part, but you got to realize that stuff is still coming out and that 4th edition is not going anywhere for a little bit. And embrace that if you're playing it, because that's once again going to make your game that much better. Keep getting ideas. Keep going on there. If you can't afford D&D Insider, maybe try to save up and just get a month of it so you can spend that entire month scanning through their articles and getting more inspiration. The artwork can inspire you, what have you. But 4th edition is not dying. Never going to die. Games don't die. Companies move on to other editions, and that's fine. You'll even start to notice, as Mike Shea said in our little hangout, I believe, that he mentioned that a lot of the, and I don't know if this part was actually up on the broadcast portion, but he mentioned how a lot of the adventures coming out for 4th edition now, you can get that feel of D&D next in them. They're starting to resonate and reflect where they're moving with things in a good way. So check those out, because once you accept that they're still publishing material, you can still get excited about it, still get inspiration. So enough rambling. Those are your 2 tips for moving forth, for making D&D 4th edition better. Don't fall into the checks trap, and accept that 4th edition is not dead, nor is it dying. Thanks for watching, everyone. Talk to you soon.